We'll call the Mandan Park District Board meeting to order. Today is February 9th, 2026 at 5:30. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? I know we had a new agenda that came out since our first one went out. Any other additions or deletions?
Nope, just item 7 that's been added to the agenda. It was sent out to the media this afternoon.
Okay.
Just a new item that Attorney Ruff will address.
Okay, with that, public communication from visitors. We have one person in the crowd today. I think you're going to speak to us on an agenda. Yep, okay. We'll close that portion of our meeting. Can we look to get approval of the January 12th, 2026 regular meeting minutes?
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Scott.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Mutter. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, moving into item number 1, Dakota Star Gymnastics annual presentation. Dave, you going to start us off?
Yeah. Good evening, Commissioners, President Meshke. Tonight we have Dakota Star Gymnastics here to present their 2025 year in review. And from Dakota Star is the president, Kama Huvestal, will come up and answer any questions you have.
Yep. Welcome.
Good evening. Thanks for allowing me here tonight. So I know you guys got this in the packet, so I'll kind of just go over a few key points in it. Feel free to ask questions as we go along. Our board member consists of a president-elect, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and we have 2 members at large. We do have some open spots also on there if people are interested in joining our board. Our staff members, we do have 2 full-time staff. We do have 1 head coach that runs our competitive and our pre-team, and we also have a program coordinator who runs all of our recreational, and she also is our Braves head coach for the high school, so she runs a 2-part for that. They're both full-time. Our part-time staff, we just at the beginning of this last year, we hired an office coordinator to run our office ins and outs and everything for the club. Gabby Silver is our GM. We just have a part-time GM kind of run oversight and oversee the whole gym just so we have someone there supervising our staff. Our assistant coaches, we have 3 of them as current assistant coaches, college kids, a couple of high school kids, and we have 3 PRN that come back from college that still love working for us, so they come back and work for us in the breaks and in the summertime. And then we have recreational coaches, which run from ages 14 up to, we have some 18-year-olds. We have 34 of them that are part-time, so that help run all our recreational classes. Our financials are there from 2025 to 2026. This last year we did take big income, but we did not buy any big equipment. The year before we had to buy $20,000, $40,000 bars. We did not do this last year. Going into this year, you can see that we will have a deficit just because we are looking at adding some more staff. We are growing as a club, and with that grow, we also have to bring in some more staff. And we have some fixes that we have to do. We have to talk about bleachers. We have lots of things we have on our list that we really need to look into on purchasing for our gym to make it feasible for having meets, holding meets, and continuing to upgrade equipment for our gymnasts. Our recreational program, we had 460 gymnasts in January of 2025, and then we increased that to 581 by the end of last year, so it's growing a lot. We have 66 classes that are held from Monday through Saturday. So it is a busy, busy place, and that 66 does not include any of our competitive classes and our Braves. So we run between parent-taught, nursery, beginner, intermediate, advanced, pre-team, and comp. So those are all, we changed that. Before we used to by age, we have changed that to skill level, so it works out really well for parents. We can actually put them with their skill level rather than just by age, because sometimes age and skill level don't always go together. So we have a beginner 1, 2, and a 3, intermediate 1, 2, and 3 based on their age, but also based on their skill. So that has been very successful for our club this year. We have 20 pre-team gymnasts that are working. Oh, wait, sorry, going back up here. I missed that. Ages are from 18 months to 18 years is what we have right now at our club. And we have 55 kids on the wait list at the end of 2025. That used to be in the hundreds. So we have done a great job of adding classes and keeping those filled. Our competitive program, we have really, this is growing across North Dakota, like huge. And which is why we also have to look at spacing in our club, because it is growing so much that we have to start limiting how many people we have in every gymnast in our sessions. Right now we have 35 gymnasts competing competitively in the USAG gymnastics program. So that's up 12 since last season. We have 20 that are looking at joining our club, and we shouldn't lose very many of those 35. We might lose a couple at 7th grade. They can go to Braves High School Gymnastics. A lot of them will stay, so we're looking at another 20 that want to join our gymnastics competitive. So they're working their way up. We hold one meet is hosted in January. We just got done with that. We had about 950 people over a 2-day event in and out of that club. They run at about 2.5-hour sessions, and as that 2.5-hour session leaves, the other group's waiting outside the starting to come in. So it's a process, but it was great. It's great to see everybody in and out of there. Let's see here. And then the other thing we run in our club is we also host, and we have a contract with the high school. And so we have a 3-year contract that was just signed this year for the next 3 years, that they will continue. We give them access to our club, and they hold 4 meets hosted at DSG throughout the season, just to keep gymnastics going for some of those older kids, starting at 7th grade. So I'll open up to any questions. Kind of went through that, but any questions?
I guess I'll start. A real quick question is, and I've noticed it in the last 3 years, is that your net yearly deficit's always negative, about $3,000 to $4,000. Is it because of trying to get coaches, or is it equipment, or how can we? I guess a better question is, how can we help you not show that negative every year, as far as a budget wise?
Well, I would say as we budget, I think I budget on the safe side, I would say, and so that never ends up probably actually being that, but as I budget at the beginning of the year, I budget that knowing we want to have that equipment available, and so I probably budget do higher equipment more than anything. But yes, sometimes when our expenses come in for like we do raises here now, like in April, so you kind of have to account for that, and depending on how many more classes we get and gymnasts, we have to fluctuate our staff. So I kind of go higher on certain areas in our budget to compensate that, just so I know we're safe as we go into the next year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The other question is, I'm going to compliment you on this, how much you've grown this year, and you're down so much in waiting list, but how could we get those 55 kids into gymnastics?
Right now, it's hard because there is no space on that floor. If you ever go to gymnastics, you will notice that every part of our floor is being used. Some of that waiting list, too, is also people they put themselves on the next waiting list. So if they're a 10-year-old, but they need to be on the 11-year-old, they sit on the waiting list until we can drop them off in the 10-year-old class. And every 3 months, they test them. So then they move out of that. So then they would drop off that waiting list, but they have to be registered on that wait list so nobody else takes their spot. So we can kind of move them in.
Okay.
So that fluctuates every month. It fluctuates.
And since I'm on a roll right now,
Go ahead.
I have one more, and then I promise I'll be. But this is more for Cole, and I know we have to be careful of the ADA in that gymnastics area. But for bleachers and stuff, is there any way we can help them with getting more people in there?
I think in order to expand that facility would be very difficult just because of the location where it's at, meaning we can't go to the south or to the west very easily. We've been working well with Dakota Star with the ADA upgrades, and they've been appreciative and cooperative as far as where they've been able to designate these spots. The way it's set up, it's very limited in what we could do to increase those numbers and or spectators. I have 2 granddaughters that go up there and watch, and yeah, I wish we could do some additional seating, which would have to be some kind of matching grant, but then at the same time have to address the ramps and things of that nature that are already in place today, that if we add any elevated bleachers, you are now adding more additional spaces that would probably drive up cost.
Thank you.
Anything for Kama?
Birthday parties still popular up there?
They would fill up fast within 3 months. So we have
Yeah.
them out for 3 months, and they fill up within the first month that they're out.
Oh, nice.
So
good.
yes, they are huge.
Good to see it. No other questions for me. I would just echo what Lane said. Fantastic job of growth. The numbers always amaze me. and have been in the building when gymnastics has been going on, and it is packed in there. So congratulations on solving some of the issues, but wish there was a way we could get some more space for you. But at this point, it doesn't really work.
That's okay. We will keep working with what we have and make it work. It's a great program.
Yeah, Kim, I guess, when it first opened, I know there was a lot of unknowns, what was going to happen up there, board members and coaches and things like that. And stepping in there to see you're making the best use of the time and the space that you have. And working with us on the ADA compliance. I know you called me. I'm like, yeah, you got to call Cole. He knows he's got the drawings. He's going to do that. And working with us on that. So, like you said, we wanted to make this from the get-go. We wanted to make it successful for our community by keeping rent low and letting you build this program. It looks like you guys have been doing a nice job. So
Yes, we appreciate that too, for your guys' support in that. It's been great. Kids are loving it, coaches are loving
Good.
it, so it's great to see it growing in our
Good.
community.
thank you for coming.
Thank you. Have a good
Yep.
evening.
All right, moving on to item number 2 consider for approval accounting department items. We have some budget amendments and 2025 budget amendments. Terry will start with that.
Good evening, President Meshke and Commissioners. I have 3 items to bring before you for your approval tonight. I have budget amendments, budget transfers, and then a newly developed accounting policies and procedures manual. So I'll start with the budget amendments. During 2025, we did have expenditures exceeding our budgeted appropriations in 4 funds. And first of all, in the general fund, we're requesting approval of $148,000. This increase in expenditures resulted from a busy golf season requiring additional spending. However, higher revenue from the golf operations was there to adequately offset those expenditures. And then in our special assessment fund, we exceeded the budget by $61,100, and this was because we received the assessments for the Old Red Trail and Highway 6 trail projects 1 year earlier than we had planned. These are assessed over 10 years, and we had budgeted them for starting in 2026, but we got the assessment starting in 2025. There was no problem with that since we had sufficient funds within the special assessment fund to cover that. And then in the Raging Rivers Fund, as you know, we had some projects with fencing and landscaping improvements. These were all funded by the Capital Improvement Fund, so we do have a revenue transfer in to cover those. That was about $101,000. Another about $20,000 in the Raging Rivers Fund was just due some additional overages in ongoing building repairs and sales tax expenses. And then finally, in the construction fund, we did go over the budget there by $116,500 for costs that were spent to complete the baseball diamond renovations 9 and 10. All of this, as you know, was reimbursed from the Mandan Baseball Club. So again, we had revenue to offset this increase in expenditures. So those are the budget amendments. And then going into the budget transfers, with the replacement of bleachers at the Star Inn Sports Complex for ADA compliance, there was an expense of $217,500 that we had actually put into the 2026 budget, and that project was able to be completed in 2025. So all we need to do now is just do a budget transfer back into 2025 out of 26 for that. And then the final budget transfer has to do with the $1.1 million worth of golf course improvements that are ongoing right now. They were all budgeted in 2025. And about $674,000 have been spent on those projects, and we have a carryover. We'd like to request carrying over to next year the remaining $424,500 of those expenses. So at this time, I guess I would just ask if you have any questions, or if not, to a motion to approve these budget amendments and transfers as presented.
Questions for Terry or board wishes? It's always good when we have a busy golf season. I mean, obviously, we're going to get more expenses with that, and maybe we'll be looking at that again. Weather stays like this, and we can open a little bit earlier. So, sorry to interrupt.
Rumor has it March 1st is when we start golfing.
That's a rumor. That's a rumor.
A motion to approve the 2025 budget amendments and transfers as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mutter, second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Commissioner Mutter,
Yes.
Commissioner Melhoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Scott.
Aye.
Yes from me as well. Motion carries. Thank you, Terry.
And then I'm also going to be presenting tonight for your approval our newly developed Accounting Policies and Procedures Manual. You received that in your board packet as a link to access that. And I've had a goal of mine for the last few years to develop Accounting Policy and Procedures Manual. And with the submission of our CAPRA application this past January, it became a very urgent deadline for me because I knew as I was addressing the fiscal questions that CAPRA was asking, to have them available in a comprehensive manual would be such a better way to present. And so the purpose of this manual was to gather and consolidate all of our previous policies that you've approved, and then also document our existing accounting and financial procedures, and then bring them together as a unified manual. So I'm really excited to have completed this, and it is my hope that it will provide stability and continuity for long-term financial management of the district. And we want to ensure that our records are complying with generally accepted accounting principles and also remain in compliance with state and federal laws. So, in case you didn't read every line in that manual, the topics included in there do include revenue and cash management. Included in there was a previously adopted investment policy that we had done. There's purchasing and payments, internal controls and fraud prevention, capital assets and insurance, capital financing, including our debt limit requirements, financial reporting, budget development, and I've also included quite a few links to the North Dakota Century Code that are applicable to park districts. So going forward, this manual will be used and reviewed and regularly and updated to reflect any changes that we have in laws, policies, or just general best practices. So tonight I'm just asking for your approval for the existing Accounting Policies and Procedures Manual as presented.
Thank you for your work on that.
Yeah, just don't be making any announcements that you're planning to retire or anything like that.
Not yet.
Can we look for approval?
I'll approve the,
I thought you had a question.
no, I didn't have a question.
I'll make a motion to approve the accounting policies manual as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Melhoff, second by Commissioner Mutter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Pretty good undertaking.
Item number 3, consider for approval matching grant requests. We have 2 of them, one from the Mandan Girls Fast Pitch organization and the Mandan Soccer Club. Kelly?
Good evening, President Meshke and Commissioners. Again, I'm here today to talk about the matching grant program. As you stated, we received 2 applications, one from Mandan Soccer Club. They asked for $2,800 for 2 nets and 40 balls. The nets would be placed at Dakota Centennial Park. The second application was from Fast Pitch. They asked for a batting cage to be placed at Ferris Field, and that amount was $6,923.48. The Mandan Foundation Board reviewed these applications and would recommend approving both applications in the full amount, and I'm here today to ask for your wishes.
I have a quick question since I didn't have a question last time. On the fast pitch softball, do we know how many girls are in that group? And also the soccer, just for a rough guess.
I
either
personally
Cole or
don't,
anybody.
Dave might.
So soccer runs about 450 to 500 kids per session, which means they do 3 sessions, spring, summer, fall. There's roughly about that many kids. So you're looking at 12 to 1,400 kids total. I mean, some of the same kids, but that's what we run through there. It's pretty busy down there. Fast pitch, I'm guessing they're pushing at 75 to 100 kids. I can't say for
And
sure.
you usually report those out in your letters.
Yeah,
at-
I can't remember what
season
it
ends
was
and things
last
like
year, but that's
Gives us
roughly around
updates.
there.
Okay. Anything else for Kelly?
I'll make a motion to approve the matching grant request by the Mandan Girls Fast Pitch and the Mandan Soccer Club as presented.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Melhoff,
Second.
second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Commissioner Mutter,
Aye.
Commissioner Melhoff,
Aye.
Commissioner Scott.
Aye.
Aye for me as well. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 4. Consider for approval revisions to the joint powers agreement with Mandan Public Schools. I know Cole kind of highlighted in there what had changed and some amendments to it.
Yes, President
Cole,
Meskey and Commissioners, I apologize. I actually redlined it, and then I accepted all the changes in my Word document, and then I couldn't get them back. So then I had to go old school and use the highlighter and show you the areas where I made the changes. But this was presented at our joint powers meeting that we do annually on January 8th. It was presented and discussed, all of these. Dr. Bitts has reviewed it and agreed to this as far as everything that's been listed in there. You see the minutes from the meeting that are behind this agreement that kind of summarize some of the discussion. Pending approval here tonight, it will go before school board at their next meeting for final approval. But the quick highlight that I wanted to point out is obviously the terms of the joint powers agreement would be for an additional 10 years. It doesn't mean that we can't amend it throughout the years as we meet annually. We did clean up some of the items as far as facilities, specifically the Ferris Field site, which is owned by the Mandan Public Schools. So we wanted to make sure that was listed in there specifically, even though we're listing it on our end as we made the capital improvements to that site. And then also any classroom space that may be needed with the elementary schools that were being added throughout the district. So pretty straightforward, cleaned it up. There was one, is the intent to not renew this rental agreement. As you know, we received $1.25 million for the Starring Sports Complex from the school, and that was done in 2015, and that the intent was not to extend that lease as that's been completed, in 2031. So we wanted to put that language in there so that whatever staff or elected officials between school and park boards were well aware that that is not the intent. Doesn't mean it can't be rediscussed, but the intent was not to renew that and extend a rental fee to Mandan Public Schools. I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Cole, can you put a little more, under miscellaneous number 4, Facilities Maintenance Board is directed to meet January of 2036.
So we have this in case for some reason, because there were prior years where we never met, didn't have any topics or discussions or new growth or construction, but the facility is directed to meet so that we can renew the 10-year agreement. So if for some reason we haven't met, we then would meet for sure by 2036. But we've done a good job of meeting annually, as it says earlier. We have met, but there have been years where we've canceled the meeting because there wasn't any discussion items.
Okay.
So once a year is good enough then?
Yeah, it's gone really well, and we've gotten a much better job meeting with the building principals and the athletic directors individually for seasons. So we are meeting not necessarily with the superintendent on all the items, but we are meeting with high school staff, or I should say Mandan Public Schools staff, as needed at our facilities. So we do that quite well.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Cole?
I would make the motion to approve the revised joint powers agreement with Mandan Public Schools.
Motion by Commissioner Scott,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Mutter. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, update on our CAPRA accreditation timeline. You know, before you start, Cole, and you knew this was going to be a big undertaking and part of what Terry's done, but when you look through the checklist of what needs to be done on here and the time that they put into it, to put this together. I mean, that was, and we don't need to do it. This isn't something we need to do to operate. It's something to, give us a certification that we're meeting pretty high standards. So, I mean, the work that's been done by you and your management and the people that is something else, and I'm excited for feedback on it.
Yes, thank you for those comments. And Tyler Ripple also was kind of leading this, and she started in November, and now here we are a year and some few months later. It's been a big undertaking, but as we mentioned, accreditation would be the icing on the cake. But for me, we got over, what was our speaker, 100 and, what, you were closest one in years of service for employees. We were 160, 70? 150 some years of experience that we have throughout full-time employees in our leadership and group, and trying to pull out information into a document is very good for us, because we all were used to doing our own things and doing it the way it legally was supposed to be, but by pulling it together has really put it in one kind of section, in SharePoint, so that if we ever have staff turnover or changes or elected officials, we have a source there that kind of shows the continuity and basically a template for how the park district's operating. So what I wanted to share with you, though, is we did submit the application in January. We are scheduled for a visit on June 29th through July 3rd. Sounds like they will be gone on the 2nd. Obviously, it's a week of the 4th of July, so everybody wants to get home. The process is 3 individuals will come out here. They each take 3 sections of the 9 that are presented. They are in the process of reviewing the application that we submitted so far. They have anywhere, I can't remember if it was 60 or 90 days to review it. During that time, they can ask questions, clarifications, ask for additional information to make sure. They will not come on site if we are not prepared or have all the documents in place. If that doesn't happen, then we will then discuss what the next steps will be for the park district. But we feel pretty confident that we have pretty much met all of them. I think there's 15 standards that we do not have to meet that we can choose. And some of them were just very expensive ADA transition plans. Large master plans that would hire contracted out. We pulled all that together and kind of created our own master plan. So hopefully those will meet the criteria. But there are certain things that us being separate from the city has kind of made it a little difficult because of the fire department and police department. We have some cooperation with them, but actually getting the day-to-day interactions is kind of difficult and limited. So we do have a little bit of a setback on those components. But I think overall, they were very good to work with and shared the information they could as far as corresponding communication and working with our facilities. So it's more of an FYI to the board as far as what will take place, but we're kind of excited. And again, thank you to all of the managers, and specifically Tyler Ripple, she was kind of leading this charge for us. And then she went on maternity leave and was going to do some more work, and then got the HR position. So she went from running the water park to HR to payroll to Capra all in the same 12 months. So she did a good job balancing all that.
When they come out and visit Cole, will they want to meet with board members? I mean, have you gotten any direction on that? Obviously, they're going to meet with you guys, but.
Yeah, so as of right now, there are 2 park districts that I'm aware of that went through this, and they're going through it as we speak, so we haven't heard exactly how that process works. There is another individual who is on the scoring committee, and he goes out, I think, in April, so we'll learn more how that process works. But yeah, essentially, I think there's going to be full representation from trying to make sure what we say we do actually is implemented. So that I think there will be some board involvement at that time.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks. Moving on to item number 6. The request to approve to apply for the Destination Development Grant for Raging Rivers.
President Meshke and Commissioners, you've seen some of the marketing. There's been $4 that have been given back to this grant that's administered by the state. And so we are here tonight to request approval to apply for this grant for a total of $4 million, $2 million being the local batch from the Park District. As you know, we've talked about improvements out at Raging Rivers over the years to address some of the tourism needs that we would have, along with expanding. That facility was built right around 99-2000. The Park District took over in 2010. We haven't added any new feature to the complex, but we've added a lot of upgrades to the project, meaning new filtration systems, new pumps, liner in the lazy river. We've painted the speed slides twice. We've upgraded the splash pad that we have there. What we really haven't added a new feature, and we feel this might be a great opportunity for us to at least get some matching dollars to minimize our liabilities, financial liabilities towards it. But in your packet, there is a couple different options that we looked at. And the first one is what we looked at in 2022. I had these information. Not sure if it's working. Yep, now you can see it. So these drawings are what we put together in 22. We were going to apply for a different grant at that time, and then at that time we decided not to apply as things were kind of changing as far as what direction we wanted to spend our dollars, and we ended up doing park operations building, we ended up doing the rodeo, we ended up doing the tennis dome. So all of those kind of those came in at one time. But what you see here, working left to right, on your left-hand side, kind of a zero entry for the toddlers 3 and under. As you can see, kind of gradually goes into the 3 lanes that are listed there. The top of this would be 2 diving boards, and you can see it would be 12 and a half foot depth, and then another small slide. And so what we're really trying to accustom here is an attraction to those 48-inch and younger kids and families. Right now, today, as we know, the lazy river they have access to, and we have the playground that has the splash pad associated with it, but they don't have access to the speed slides. And so this kind of accommodates dual needs. Anyone over 48 inches and greater would be able to utilize the diving boards in the deep end and would be able to, obviously sit out and tan and things of that nature on the decking. But that was the first concept that we wanted in 22, and we still feel that is the need. But in the packet, I did give you another option, and that was if we wanted to go a full-fledged if we wanted to do like a full 25-meter, 8-lane outdoor pool that could accommodate, as you see on the left side of the screen, where there could be some type of chairs for tanning, rest, for parents. It is not a zero entry. That's kind of why we don't necessarily agree with this plan. We think that the tourism side of bringing people and families in from in-state, out-of-state, has a better bang. But we did want to show you the difference in the 2 options that we looked at and the costs. So the grant that we're looking at is obviously opens up tomorrow, has a deadline, I think, of March 10th is when it's due. But we'd like approval tonight to apply for that grant, and I'm sure you may have some questions on the funding before I get to that. So I'll pause for any questions you have on the design before I get into the financial side.
Do we need to submit the plan that we want for this grant?
Yeah, my recommendation is to submit the one with the zero entry and the 3 lanes along with the pool. I just wanted to show that we'd at least research a couple different options in case there were questions from the board members that maybe were interested in it.
Do we need a motion for that then?
Not yet. I don't think so yet. Let's hear what it's gonna cost us. Yeah.
So in your packet, the cost estimates in 2022 was right around $1.7 million, I think it was. And so what we're recommending, it's probably going to add that 30-40% cost escalator in there just because of 22 and what's taking place. But we'd like to apply for $4 million, knowing that costs have changed, bidding's going to be changed. We do have some additional things we're going to add in there for whether it's shades, whether it's from permanent structures that can be on the decking, some concrete replacement. Obviously, we got to house all of the filtration system and the chlorinator that hopefully can tie into the back of the building. And there's some unknown costs associated with how truly it might be. We have a number built in, but not sure if there'll be any unforeseen costs with that. And then, of course, Dustin Fleck brought up the old volcano that used to be in the middle in there. We know the underground infrastructure to that volcano, it has been disconnected and it's not operating. But there are some underground utilities that are associated in there that are going to have to be relocated too. So that's why we're asking to apply for the $4 million. And as I stated in the agenda doc, for some reason, if those costs come under what we estimated, then we're able to reduce that cost of our share and also the grant share. Now, how we're going to pay for it, is that the question?
Actually, I have a question before we go any further. Because last 4 years, every time we talk about pool, we always talk about the cost of running that pool. Can Raging Rivers cover the cost of this pool being used every year.
And we did discuss that internally. So essentially for the last, 2010, when we purchased Raging Rivers, we started out with a $150,000 debt service payment. And then we refinanced over time. And the last couple of years, we went to $250,000. So operations were able to pay up to $250,000 of expenses. It wasn't easy at times when the weather got a little difficult, but the 150 was very easy to do. When we got to the $250,000 P&I payment, we did that to get it paid off sooner, and now we're able to build some of our reserves. With the grant funding here, we're estimating probably $1 million cash that we would take from the general fund, and we've talked about that in our strategic plan at our retreat. The other $1 million either would be a combination of additional cash contributed towards it and or a loan over 10 years. So assuming a loan at $1 million over 10 years, $100,000, add some interest, call it $150,000 a year is what our P&I would be. We would assume $75,000 of that is going to be staffing that we're going to have to consider. So we're looking at $75,000 from the general fund, $75,000 from Raging Rivers to pay the P&I. The additional dollars on the high side for operations, utilities, staffing, some of those things, we're estimating around $75,000 for that. So the total impact to Raging Rivers would be $150,000, $75,000 over here to the general fund for the P&I. Now, that's probably high on the $75,000 for labor and utilities and things of that nature. But again, we want to budget high knowing that we can come in lower and not have a surprise and not how we're going to do this. We're hoping having the staff being able to be reallocated, get a little more smart in how we schedule our staffing and how they be relocated. But the concept here would be with this design is that we would still be open to the Raging Rivers, but if for some reason we wanted to add additional swim lessons, we could do swim lessons out here during the summer and maximize that opportunity during the week, Monday through Thursday.
And I think the pool was talked about, a few years ago because we had some citizens that came to us and said, we have to, our kids aren't big enough to do this or they're too small. And we don't have an option for an outdoor swimming pool, just a basic one like this. So they, would go to Bismarck. One thing the reason that I think that happened, and they stated that, was that, for us to pay, because Raging Rivers does give a lot of amenities, to pay that cost just to use a pool, so I would think, I guess I would hope that we would think logistically if there's a way that people can still have access to this area, and whether it be at a reduced rate or be part of a package, or just to use that area. And I know logistically that's tough. I know that's a difficult thing to monitor. But I think that's what I remember most from the public coming to talk to us about.
President Mischke, you are correct. There has been the request for that, reduced fee to go to a pool.
Right.
The difficult part that we run into today is we have a band for 48 inches and taller, a band for 48 inches and under, then we have a spectator band, then people don't wear their bands, and so we're constantly trying to figure out who's where and what.
Already logistically it's difficult.
Yeah, that would be difficult. Doesn't mean it's not doable. We definitely could work out some kind of concept, certain hours, certain times of the day, especially in the evenings. When people get off work at 5, we have the limited hours for twilight hours in there that we may be able to work something there.
Yeah, I just think we need to keep that in the back of our minds on how we can maybe serve those people.
The one thing that we talked about the staff meeting that I guess I want to echo is that we would not be raising fees. We want to keep the fees the way they are today. And obviously in the future, we can't control where expenses and things are going to go. But at least that first year, we want to be able to maintain the same fees that we're charging here today just because we're adding a new feature. Obviously, 3, 4, 5 years from now, we have to reevaluate as inflation and things go away. We may have to slightly increase, but hopefully that we have more people coming to the park because we're offering a service that we don't today.
Right. Okay, so you want a motion to apply for the grant?
And that we would support, or that you do as a board support, contributing $2 million for a $4 million application. That way we can put that in there. Now,
show that we've already... Yeah.
Correct. Okay. And then if for some reason we do not get funded, obviously we don't move forward with it. But if we are awarded the fund, we have a motion in the minutes, because they'll request a copy of our minutes stating that we do support contributing $2 million towards the grant for a match of their $2 million for a total project of $4 million.
Okay.
Real quick question, is there any, and I'm thinking of the Starion complex, but is there any idea of getting sponsors for Raging Rivers to sponsor the whole place to help with this?
I don't know about naming rights sponsorships, but I know we have, certain institutions in town who like to rent the facility out for certain hours for special events. I think that can grow a little bit. But as far as naming rights at this time, I don't think that's a need right now. Obviously, if we have financial difficulties, there's always opportunity, especially being on expressway with high visibility. But at this time, I don't see us having to get naming rights for it.
I think you mentioned, Cole, maybe visitors fund to at least start the conversation.
Yeah, I think that's what we want to have, that conversation once we're awarded, knowing that me, as the park district, we're willing to take that loan out along with a cash contribution. And then as we get funded, then I think we can have those additional discussions to minimize our financial risk associated with it.
Any other questions, comments for?
Yeah, where are we at with the debt service on Raging Rivers?
We're paid off. We paid off last
Paid
year.
off?
Yep.
Okay, just want to verify that.
Yeah, we've done a nice job with making sure with some of the deferred maintenance and keeping up with that. As you know, we painted all the slides last year, so that was something that was paid for out of the funds with Raging Rivers, and we had some assistance from capital improvement. But no, this would be a large project. In the grant, it has to be spent by June of 27. So the turnaround's going to be quick. Now, we can't ask for extensions. The same thing happened with the boat ramp. We were awarded, got the thing rolling. You can ask for extension, but I think it's not undoable to do. I think we would have to start if funded. Obviously, advertise for bids. Obviously, got some design, finalize some of that. We could hopefully start in August, and get all the way through October, early November if weather allows. As long as we get everything below freeze, frost, and then we can work above ground in the winter, we'll be fine.
And the location wouldn't have, even if that isn't going to give much disruption to Raging Rivers currently in the way it operates, so.
I just put on there kind of the location that we're thinking of here. As you kind of can rotate it so it orients, so it kind of explains how the entrance is here. And it's just the backside there that kind of faces the Family Wellness Center. So I don't use the word a dead area, but we essentially don't have our entrance back there anymore like we used to. So essentially it is kind of a dead space that we can expand. And it can be moved over to the west a little bit, or even to the north if we have to. Again, infrastructure where things are laid out are going to dictate that. But all that concrete that you see in here, we'd like to be able to get it to drain properly and then expand some of our shade areas and along with some of our decking for tanning and things of that nature.
Do we have to worry about parking? I don't know why I think about it, but the parking on that side then?
So we still would have the entrance in the same entrance as it is today. But if as far as emergency, having to get people exit out, we would have an exit gate there. People do park there. We have a joint parking access easement with the Family Wellness Center. They park in ours. We park in theirs at times. During the summer, that's their slower time. But for the most part, I think we got over 300 some stalls at Raging Rivers. So we definitely have a lot of parking, but don't get me wrong. When it's 100, 110 out, we're going to be full.
I feel there is a definite need for that height and age group. I know I've got a couple granddaughters that are not ready for the Raging River, but they definitely would take advantage of something like this. So definitely think it would be beneficial to the community.
You ready for a motion?
Any more discussion? We can do it after a motion too, I guess.
I'll make the motion. I recommend applying for the Destination Development Grant for the Raging Rivers Pool Addition, and I want the first one, I guess, for the floor plan.
Option one. I don't know, do we have it labeled as option one in here?
I think I understand the intention of what you consider option one, which considers the 3 lanes and the 0 entry. And just to clarify with your motion, that includes a $2 million contribution from the Park District.
Correct.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Mutter, second by Commissioner Melhoff. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Commissioner Mutter.
Yes.
Commissioner Melhoff.
Aye.
Commissioner Scott.
Aye.
Aye for me as well. Moving on to item number 7, update on Starion Sports Complex ADA upgrades.
President
Attorney Ruff.
Meschke, as you know, we've been going round and round and back and forth on ADA issues for many months. JLG has now agreed to pay $25,000 to resolve that issue with respect to the ADA issues that were discussed previously. Cole and I have discussed that, and we both think that's a reasonable compromise to finally get this behind us, put it to bed, and move forward. And so to do that, one of the first steps is for the board now to approve that if they so choose, and then we'll get concluding documents prepared.
So do you have we haven't seen a written agreement yet. I mean,
No,
okay.
No, we just, the number was just discussed a week or so ago, and so we're just working on getting that. Attorney Laird has presented a preliminary draft, and we're going to be going through that, so.
I'm guessing there'll be stipulations within there about further damages?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I guess I think that's probably what, in speaking with Cole, that we're concerned about, so you want us to approve, that we approve or accept the $25,000 as a
Correct.
settlement, and then we'll see the paperwork, and then from there can decide whether or not we want to have that document signed.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll move to approve the $25,000 agreement there, and then pending the final document review, I guess.
Motion by Commissioner Melhoff,
Second.
second by Commissioner Scott. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Attorney Ruff. Item number 8, authorization to pay our monthly bills.
I'll make a motion to authorize payment of our monthly bills.
Motion by Commissioner Melhoff,
Second.
second by Commissioner Mutter. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Additional Commissioner staff reports.
Just to add a little bit here with the All Saints Arena, as you know, the demo has been moving quite quickly here at the old high school site, and so I just want to let you know that things are moving well. We've had a lot of events. We have another tournament here this weekend. No impacts to the actual operations, whether it's been underground utilities or things of that nature that have impacted it. There are a few things coming up with the road and that retaining wall that's on that north side of the old high school. There is a mid-coal line that's in there that we have to be cognitive of how that's going to be moved. They're not going to take that portion of that road down until they get more completed on the demo of the site. Obviously, weather's going to dictate what's going on. Even though we've had some really nice weather right now, we know there's going to be some freeze and thaw happening. But once that retaining wall is taken down, they got to have the ability to put something back in place. So that'll see something that you'll see at the very end. That's one of our major concerns, is that utility line that runs into our building. It's easy to restructure it and redirect it, but we'll be able to work through it. I know it's on our meeting notes, but bid opening is on February 11th for diamonds 11 and 12. We've got a lot of interest as far as general contractors with that project. And then the last thing is, you talked about March 1st. You're not that far off. So if weather continues to hold, we don't have any hard freezes, no snowstorms. I mean, we are wet, like everything around town you're starting to see, but our staff are monitoring it. We know that we have the ability to get on our facilities as soon as possible, especially on the baseball, softball areas. We have synthetic turf now. But all of our other outside facilities definitely have an opportunity if this stays the way it has been.
Terry, anything? Kelly? Dave?
I have nothing.
Attorney Ruff? Commissioner Mutter?
I have one. I'm going to compliment Casey on a great volleyball tournament she had during winter days. She had 26 teams. But more important to me, I was up there. She had a great team. She had a couple refs from Fargo that came to help her, which I think is awesome. But also, speaking of economic development, how many people have stopped and got coffee before when they played volleyball? So I want to thank Casey and the staff for doing that. So thanks, guys.
Commissioner Melhoff?
No report from me.
Commissioner Scott?
Just remember, March 1st was just a rumor about the golf courses. But I would like to say thank you to our staff. Had a great conversation with Arnie Strebe, former long time ago track teammate of mine, and he had nothing but great things to say about our park district staff and the time that he was able to spend with you guys, and so appreciate that.
Okay, future meeting dates for Park Board Commissioners. As Cole mentioned, there'll be a bid opening on February 11th for Diamonds 11 and 12 at 1 p.m. at the Park Administrative Office. And then our next regular board meeting will be right here at 5:30 on March 9th. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Scott.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mutter. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.